They say it's better late than never, and players, match officials and administrators are now looking forward to the new BCA season, which begins on Saturday. It will be all T20 matches, and the 2020 Cup featuring elite and Division 1 teams will grab centre stage. Defending champions Carlton are missing 4 key players, including recent West Indies selectees Kyle Mears and Keon Harding, but their coach Shirley Clarke says it's a chance for lesser-known players to step up.
We started out practicing in small groups. We only started practicing in large groups in the last couple of weeks, so it has been very challenging.
How do you feel about the season being played over the only T20 format this season?
Well, to be honest, I think most of the guys and myself, we're just happy to get back on the park to play some cricket. So it's what it is.
What do you think about the new protocols that have been put in place in terms of the players being able to manage the whole COVID crisis? Well,
the players and everybody will have to basically adapt to all the protocols put in place.
What do you think about the playing conditions? You know, there's this new playing condition that if there's saliva on the ball, the umpires can have to use hand sanitizer to clean the ball. That is a bit funny because you're changing basically the conditions of the ball. Something that doesn't happen in regular cricket.
True, but health is the most important part there. So, as I said before, the players will have to adapt to that situation.
Carlton opened the season against ESA Field Pickwick at the Desmond Haynes Oval in Blackrock, and Clarke says there are a number of goals other than winning for his side.
Obviously, everybody wants to win the tournament, and that was one of the major things. But at the end of the day, I want to see some of the players, other players come through, and hopefully go on to play CPL also.
Where does the strength of your team lie? Batting, bowling?
I would say bowling for now.
Why you say that?
The experience is there right now. The batting, obviously, we're missing Kyle Top, who was our main run scorer last year. So, obviously, the bowling department is fairly experienced.
What will be the keys to success this season?
Playing as a unit and playing some smart cricket. You know, I think that would be key for us.
BCA Director of Cricket Stephen Leslie says it was challenging planning the season in light of COVID-19, but the response from clubs to the changes has been good.
Well, we made sure that we employed a format that was the most safe in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're experiencing. So we decided to play a game which is the T20 format. It takes about 3 hours to 3.5 hours to complete. And we had an overwhelming response from the clubs and schools in Barbados. We have some 20 teams competing at the top level, which would be called the T20 Cup. We've got some 36 teams, which is at the intermediate level. And then we have an additional 44 teams, which is at the Division 2 level. So to have 100 clubs and schools saying that they want to participate in a domestic season, which will commence on August 15th and it will conclude on November 14th. So we've got 3 months where that window will be giving everyone an opportunity. Matches are going to be played on Saturdays across the island, starting at 1:30 p.m. We think at the BCA that we've been able to put together the best possible group of cricket games for 2020.
Why the T20 format, not maybe considering 50 overs or maybe even maybe as some people have said 2-day or 3-day cricket? What are the reasons that the BCA came up with to choose the 2020 over those other two?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally 2- and 3-day cricket, we will go to a cricket ground about 12:30 in the afternoon and stay until 5:36. So when you look at that time span, that's about 5.5 to 6 hours. If you play a 50-over game, you know that you go from 9:30 in the morning until 5 in the evening. So that, again, is an extended period. The BCA felt, again, critically that safety was important. So we have that short version, that exciting version, which is 3 hours, 3.5 hours. And that was predominantly one of the things that we thought about in terms of making that determination.
Any concerns that as the CPL is being played at the same time that the tournament doesn't get a bit overshadowed by the CPL?
Well, the CPL has been, as you know, an annual event here in the Caribbean. We sometimes lose that star power for a period of our tournament, and that's why a few years ago we traditionally bought that T20 part of our competition a bit earlier. We're not worried. We have a lot of young, talented and excited players in Barbados, and the way how the CPL is actually structured, we have 9 series of preliminary games in the local domestic cricket. Those players in the CPL will probably miss 4 or 5 of those games, so they're coming back basically mid-season, and then they can be able to help their teams get into the playoff session. So we will have a win-win situation in 2020.
Why 2 Barbados youth teams and why 2 UE teams in the T20 Cup, which is for the elite teams and the first division teams?
Yeah, we would have had that unique situation where the University of the West Indies has their club team that prior to COVID would have represented them at the elite and first division level. Our Barbados youth teams have traditionally had representative teams in the elite and first division, and we felt that it would have been fair to maintain those 4 teams within that framework as we've combined them, and it would have been certainly unfair to allow any of those 2 teams to go down and compete against the intermediate teams. So we took that position of maintaining the status quo, be it for 2020, and having those 2 university teams along with the 2 Barbados youth teams competing in the T20 Cup.
What are the COVID restrictions for the teams?
Well, we've outlined a whole set of protocols, but in simple terms, we want persons to be ensured that while they're entering the clubhouse, that they are actually have their temperature checked, that they're sanitized. We're encouraging social distancing, and really at the end of the day, what it comes down to is applying good health practices and common sense throughout the duration of the season.
And any COVID restrictions for spectators coming to attend the games?
Again, spectators within the national protocol that has been outlined by the Ministry of Health and Wellness here in Barbados, they are not mandated to wear masks. They are encouraged to social distance. So we are going to really be consistent with what the national overall arena has said. But what is critical, if those spectators want to engage anything within the clubhouse, that they will be subjected to having to wear a mask upon entry. They'll be obviously asked to social distance, they will be temperature checked, and they will be sanitized.
Any new rules that in COVID times we've seen a couple of new rules come in with the restart of international cricket in England? Any new rules that will be in effect for the players themselves?
Well, we are really embracing what the International Cricket Council has done, especially when it comes to the application of saliva on the ball. We obviously would discourage that. In the event that happens, there's a process that has been arranged within our regulations and is in keeping with what is done at the international level. We encourage persons, obviously, to ensure that when they're celebrating the fall of a wicket, that they actually try to do it in the most sensible way. And certainly what we discussed with the umpires is that they will not be obviously taking caps from players. That will be something that they will be working among the own team members to do. And certainly at the fall of a wicket, when there's a celebration, the traditional throwing the ball back where the umpire catches it while the teams celebrate, that will not be done. The ball will be rolled back to the foot of the umpire, and then once that celebration is completed, the game will resume.
Any other major changes to the T20 competition apart from the COVID stuff? Any significant changes in terms of playing conditions?
Well, we're hoping to have a very exciting tournament. We're in 2 zones at the cup level, that there those 8 teams competing at the quarterfinal level, and then you've got in the intermediate a 4-zone format, and then we interestingly took a 5-zone format for those at Division 2. So those are the slight changes in terms of what we've done in the past, but clearly what we're trying to do is to make sure that we have a competitive series of games, preliminaries leading into playoffs, and we hope that it'll be a COVID-19 free 2020 season here in Barbados.
You talked about a good reaction from the clubs because you've actually got some good numbers coming in, but what has been feedback like in terms of the protocols and new playing conditions and stuff like that?
Excitement, pure excitement. I mean, obviously you would have had 1 or 2 persons who would have put their perspective on the table. One of the things I want to say to everyone, that the BCA, despite the lockdown in the country, continue to work remotely. So we were shut down, as you recall, back in March. We worked remotely from April down to the end of June when the country was reopened, and we were able then to have 1 or 2 more face-to-face engagements. We continue to try to work the best formula, and the teams are extremely excited. The BCA is excited. We just want persons to work together so that we can have a successful season.
Playing all BCA T20 Cup matches begins at 1:30 p.m. Adriel Richard for Nation News.
Son, you need to get off the phone sometimes and read the Nation newspaper so you will know what's happening in Barbados and the rest of the world. A good thing just read that the supermarket's open, because you eat every single day in the house like a pig. Son, come off that phone. I bet you do not even know that the government is offering us a Barbados Economic Stabilization Program, which is a 5-part, $2.3 billion economic plan to support vulnerable households, businesses, and to help we grow our own food. Wait, hold on that. Because I'm a digital subscriber to the Nation's website, so I will get news hot off the press. Oh, I see. I would like to subscribe digitally too. But sir, you know I like to read my Nation newspaper, man. Dad, you got shoes? You can buy your newspaper And you can also subscribe.